Hello friends, in this video we'll talk about scandals in Poland. The Confederation Party hits a new low meets about payments for Ukrainians. A loud diplomatic scandal because of Zelensky's award, and for dessert we'll talk about the unexpected naked swim of Czech tourists in a nature reserve. Friends, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Huge thanks to everyone who takes 2 seconds. Thank you for your support. Well, let's probably start with another media masterpiece that's now actively circulating on Polish social media with cries of alarm. They're robbing us! Ukrainians are robbing us! They're handing out 17,000 Zlotys from the budget to these Ukrainians. In short, spoiler alert right away. What we have here is a classic example of artistic distortion of facts, let's call it that. They take a real law, not a new one. A certain part of it is pulled out and everything else is swept under the rug, covered up. Let's divide this whole mess, let's call it that, into facts and manipulations. Technically, according to the letter of the law, the authors hardly lied, right? Because everyone knows how to read the labor code. There is such a tool, yes. It's called a settling in grant. It's a relocation allowance for for settling in. It is issued by the County Employment Center, PUP. The amount, yes, that's right, 17,000, that's 200% of the average salary. So it's about 17,000 Zlotys. The conditions are strict. To get the 17,000, you need to move at least 80 kilometers for a new job. You only get to keep the money if you honestly work for 6 out of the next 8 months. And of course, regularly pay taxes to Zeus. If you leave earlier, you'll have to pay back every penny. Yes, Ukrainians can apply. Those who have legal status in the country have the legal right. Yes, maybe, dear right-wing politicians might be surprised, but Ukrainians even have the right to breathe Polish air. Imagine that. The point is, it's not about what the propagandists said, but rather about what they, let's say, kept silent about. It's the illusion of an exclusive benefit, because the posters say 17,000 for Ukrainians. And of course, I checked Confederacia's comment section, and everyone there is boiling, fuming, and getting really worked up. They're giving everything to these Ukrainians. What about us? Haven't gotten anything my whole life. Ukrainians get everything. Free apartments, free Lamborghinis. Everything's free. But, seriously, the point is that this is a government program for all registered unemployed people. First of all, for the Poles themselves, there is no special Ukrainian bonus at all. What else? Manipulation. Equality of rights is turned into a privilege. A privilege is when someone like Mykola has the right to money, and someone like Czech has it too. But here, in this particular case, both Czech and Mykola are equal. If they are unemployed and ready to travel 80 kilometers to work, they will receive these benefits on equal terms. Calling equal rights privileges is demagoguery, pure and simple. Next, the authors lament that the age limit of 30 was removed from the law, hinting that it was done for whom? Them, for Ukrainians. Everything in Poland is done for Ukrainians. Even the sun in Poland comes out from behind the clouds just to make Ukrainians happy. What other reason could there be? The population in Poland is aging rapidly. We literally talked about this just yesterday, and this reform was carried out so that 40-year-old Poles could also move for work. Here we have a purebred example of a political provocation. They took a real boring paragraph from labor law and covered it with clickbait headlines. I admit I'm guilty of that sometimes too. Now about milking the state. And they conveniently forgot to mention that Polish citizens use this in exactly the same way. From an economic point of view, this benefit is not charity at all, but a hard-nosed investment. The state gives you money so you go where there's nobody to do the work, and in a year you return that money to the budget through taxes and then some. Anyway, folks, don't believe it. If the Confederation writes something, there's a 99% chance it's some kind of manipulation or distortion. Check the original sources, watch my channel. Don't fall for cheap slogans. Next, we have the second important topic, the battle over the award. The story continues as historical ghosts, sorry for the tautology, have once again caused a rift between Warsaw and Kiev. In big geopolitics, friendship is friendship, but historical skeletons in the closet are always ready to rattle their bones loudly. At the first hint of political expediency, a real diplomatic battle continues to unfold in Poland. The country's highest award is at stake, the Order of the White Eagle, which was given to Volodymyr Zelensky. It was the legendary Andrzej Duda who did this. Events are developing rapidly. Yes, today in Warsaw, the chapter of the order held an emergency meeting. It lasted for hours. It's now 17:02, and I'm recording this video. There's no information yet about what was decided there. But the question on the agenda is whether the president of Ukraine will be stripped of this award or not. The reason was a symbolic but extremely painful gesture for Polish historical consciousness, naming one of the Ukrainian Special Operations Forces units after the heroes of the UP. For Poland, for the Polish right-wing camp led by President Nawrocki, this sounded, well, offensive, right? You could say it was like a slap in the face. The response came immediately in the form of a demand to revoke the order. And in general, what are you thinking over there, you gap-toothed peasants? Who gave you the right to name your military unit like that? At that moment, Prime Minister Donald Tusk tried to somehow reconcile the sides. He took on the role of a cold pragmatist. Understanding where this snowball of mutual grievances was rolling, Tusk publicly called on Zelensky and Nawrocki. He said, guys, let's sit down at the table and talk normally. Before the wave of emotions completely buries solidarity in the face of an external threat. But if you think that the Polish establishment calmed down after that, you're wrong. The intensity of the discussion skyrocketed after a broadcast on TOK FM radio featuring Deputy Minister of Science, Mr. Andrzej Szeptycki. The official engaged in dangerous and compromising comparisons. He claimed that the UPA was a movement for independence and compared its fighters to the Polish anti-communist underground, the cursed soldiers. And in President Nawrocki's office, these words were called absolutely unacceptable. They said, we're going to fire you for saying things like that. In the official's own party, that's Poland 2050, they were quick to say that the wording was unfortunate, but they won't fire him. In short, we need to sort this out. Another split has emerged within the Polish coalition. Friends, this is a classic example of how idealistic ideas about eternal brotherhood are shattered by the harsh reality of national interests. In my opinion, Donald Tusk is absolutely pragmatic because this split is a wonderful gift for the opponents who are probably cracking open a bottle of vodka right now, celebrating and sitting on the sidelines, chuckling. But the paradox of the situation is that now neither side can back down anymore. Because for the Ukrainian authorities, honoring historical figures is an element of internal mobilization. For the Polish right wing, well, if they back down, it will be a concession on the Volhynia issue. That's guaranteed political death inside the country because, well, the right wing basically has no other agenda. That's it. Volhynia, we remember, Ukrainians are bad. And their voters remember things like that very well. Symbolic capital, all these radio broadcasts, names, even just the names of units, as you can see, really directly affect military alliances. We'll see what happens next. That's the news, yes, friends. And while all of Poland's media is buzzing, and by the way, yes, let's digress a little. They're discussing a visiting blogger in a sports car near Morskie Oko. The ported fisherman, with his famous catfish. An interesting piece of news came from the Czech Republic. Two female tourists decided that the rules for protecting nature weren't written for them, and so they put on quite a performance in the Slovak Tatras. And on social media, there's already a video showing two Czech citizens without clothes, that is, naked, energetically plunging into the icy water of one of the protected high mountain lakes. The video, of course, instantly got a lot of likes, many views, and sparked a perfectly understandable wave of righteous anger. And it's not even about morality. My God, naked, if you saw how many naked women of all ages walk around in Spain, and some men walk around too, not embarrassed at all, well, okay, let's not focus on that right now. Yeah. Well, the ecosystem of the Tatra National Park is fragile. The mountain lakes there have formed over centuries in conditions of pristine purity, and any human interference, well, at least as stated in the article, swimming, winter bathing, even just dipping your feet, all of this harms the local flora and fauna. Chemicals from sunscreen, deodorant, all of that poisons the water. I wouldn't exaggerate about just dipping your feet, but I'm not a biologist, and I don't even consider myself one. Let me know in the comments if you know more about this. That's exactly why there's a total ban on any water activities in the park. And for such mischief, the law provides for a serious fine. 300 euros on the spot, and in case, if things go further, it can reach an impressive 3,319. In short, friends, what can I say? It's a perfect example of how stupidity has no specific nationality. Because, as you remember, Polish media enjoyed dwelling on the offenses of migrants from the East, and still do, but they create the illusion that only Ukrainians or people from certain countries break the rules.
But as soon as two Czech women undressed in the tatras, it became clear.
Infantilism and the desire to get likes on social media is an international disease. The capitalist industrial tourism system has taught the average person to think that if they've come to a resort, then the whole world probably revolves around them. But nature, and as you can see, the law quickly brings such people back to harsh reality with hefty fines, large sums. Well, let's see how it all ends. So friends, that's basically it. We've discussed the new scandals, Confederation, the Order of the White Eagle, and those tourists. Yes, talking about the tourists is of course fun, but not everything there is interesting. By the way, if you've watched up to this point, let me know. Denis, I made it this far from Barcelona, from Bilbao, from the city of Benidorm. Where are you watching from? I love geography, I read all the comments. Yes, be sure to write, bald guy, why aren't you at the front? And if you're a friend of the channel, write that too. Dennis, you're not bald, you're our friend. Well, although, how did he say it? I'm not bald, I'm shaved. Yeah, by the way, if you think that bothers me, no. Friends, your comments sometimes make me laugh, sometimes I read them with interest, if they make sense. But if you think that by writing something you consider an insult, I will be offended by it, you're wrong. Everyone has the right to stand their ground. I insist on Rowan Berry.
Laos friends, thank you very much for your attention. Let me remind you that the best money transfer service, in case you forgot, is TransferGo. The link is in the description.
Everything is in the description, including my promo code. Go ahead, support your family and loved ones. That's all for now.
See you next time.